Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to our Hadith class. We are doing the kitab known as Riyaadhus Saaliheen of Imam Nawawi rahimahullah. We're dealing with the chapter on the various turuk, the various different ways of good deeds. We completed 4 hadith from this chapter. We are starting from the 5th hadith tonight, inshallah. So let us begin. Bismillahi walhamdulillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So we're starting from hadith number 121 as far as the kitab is concerned. Al-Khamisu, the 5th hadith of the chapter. Anhu radiyallahu anhu قال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طليق. رواه مسلم. This hadith follows the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th hadith. All 5 hadith so far from this chapter has been reported from Hazrat Abu Dharr al-Ghifari radiyallahu anhu. So once again, Hazrat Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told me, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Don't ever think little of any good deeds, of any good deed. ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طليق. Even something that a person deems minuscule. In fact, people don't even deem it as minuscule. People deem it as if it's not even a good deed at all. And that is أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طليق, that you meet your brother with a smiling face. Doesn't mean your blood brother only, it means any Muslim. You meet him, you smile. So you may think nothing about it. Some people, it's like they go through life to look moody, or it's like you can't have a smile on your face. People will wonder, why are you smiling? That's not the way a Muslim is. You smile just for the sake of it, and Allah writes down a good deed. Have the malaika write down a good deed in your book of deeds. It costed you nothing whatsoever. You didn't have to lay out a penny for it. You didn't have to lay out any effort for it, but you smiled at the Muslim and Allah wrote down a good deed for you. That's how generous the mercy and the generosity of Allah is. That's why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't think little of anything. You may think it's small things. That man, he gives millions in sadaqah. That man, he builds masajid. That man, he does this. That man, he's been teaching Bukhari for 50 years. All of those are great things indeed. But you may be doing something small and Allah likes your one small deed and Allah forgives you. And you think about the case of a woman from Bani Israel who was a prostitute. She comes across a dog that's panting, trying to get water, and it can't reach the water in the well. And she goes and she gets some water and she gives it to the dog, and Allah forgives her. She fed a dog and Allah forgave her, just like that. She was going to get water for herself. So, or maybe she wasn't, but whatever the case may be, she took out that that minute, even if you want to call it that, she took that short space of time out to do a good deed for a creature in need. And on account of that alone, something so minuscule and unimportant in the eyes of people, Allah forgave her. So that is why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us that take advantage of every single good deed that you can do. Anything and everything. Wherever you can get a good deed, take it. Don't leave things to chance. You know what? Why do I have to smile at people every day like this year? You don't look upon it like that as a Muslim. You smile at the person and Allah rewards you. And there's 2 things behind this. You smile at the person. If the person don't smile back, hey, that's their problem. Allah still rewards you. But now, sometimes, a person is having a bad day. And then you smile at the person and, it lifts a person's spirits. Then you get a double reward even for that too. Because, the person is in difficulty or at least having a bad day, being surrounded by a lot of moody faces. And then seeing, hey, here's this man, he's always in a good mood, always smiling and happy. And on account of that, as people say, it's contagious. Your smile is contagious. Things of that sort. So you think nothing about it. But a little deed like that in the eyes of people will still weigh great in the court of Allah. Imam Muslim rahimahullah is the narrator of this hadith. Let us move on. Hadith number 122. السادس عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This time, 6th hadith. Finally, we're moving to a different Sahabi. Hazrat Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه is the narrator of this hadith. He said that Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, كل سلامة من الناس عليه صدقة كل يوم تطلع فيه الشمس. similar to the hadith of Hadrat Abu Dhar radiallahu anhu of before, but slight difference. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith tells us that every day the sun rises upon you. In other words, every single day. Every day, every joint of your body requires a sadaqah. And now Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains what is the sadaqah. تعدل بين اثنين صدقة. That you fix up ties between two people. For example, maybe two people are fighting, for example, and you assist them, you help them out, or you mend matters between them. That is a sadaqah for you. وتعين الرجل في دابته فتحمله عليها. You aid a person to get onto his animal. In other words, he's trying to get on his horse, his donkey, his camel, whatever it is that he's going to be riding on. So, you can see he's struggling, he's putting his leg in, he's trying to get up. So you come and you help him. Either you hold the animal still, you hold the reins, you help give him a boost, whatever the case may be. فَتَحْمِلُهُ عَلَيْهَا. You help him to be able to get onto it. That would apply in today's time. I will, for example, a person is trying to get in a car, and sometimes you have these cars which are high up from the ground. So a person is struggling, he lift his legs so high up to be able to get in, and he struggles. So you come and you help him. I would add a disclaimer in today's time where people are afraid you're going to come and rob them and hijack them. And he may pull out a gun or a knife and shoot you because he thinks you're trying to rob him. So make certain you do things in the correct manner. You announce yourself. You don't come suddenly sliding up behind somebody and press against him. Next time he pulls his gun and he shoots you. So also apply wisdom when you do things. You don't want to come and think I'm doing a good deed and instead you get shot because you didn't do it in a right manner, because we live in a different world today where crime is all around us. So, do things right, but keep your brains with you when you are doing it. So you help him to be able to get on it. أو ترفع له عليها متاعه صدقة. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, for example, a person he's on his animal now, for example, maybe he's got a parcel he's trying to lift up to put on the animal with him. In today's time, or in the old days, maybe a person's reins or maybe his whip or something like this fell down. So now instead of him getting down all again and picking it up and getting all the way back on, so rather you pick it up, you give it to him. That's a sadaqah for you. In today's world, a person, let's put it this way, to help somebody carry their bags to the car, that is sadaqah. Once again, like I say, use your brains. Do not come and if you announce yourself and you say, can I help you with that? And you help the person with the packets. Don't come and grab a person's packet, because then they think you're trying to rob them and they call the police or something, because there you are grabbing his packet and somebody else sees you pulling the packet from their family member. They come run over to it. You don't open yourself up to senselessness because you do things in a wrong manner. It's unfortunate, but the person has to put disclaimers, because we don't live in that sort of a world where people are like all there helping all over the place. Some people become skeptical. Why are you helping? Are you trying to rob me? That sort of thing. So also use your brains when you're doing things. If you see the person is like, don't come near me, and they hold their bags tighter, then you leave it and you move on. You don't now force no and you pull it out of their hand. You don't do things of that matter in that manner. Any case, so something as minuscule and unimportant that you may think, you just hand it to them on the animal. That too counts as a sadaqah for you. وَالْكَلِمَةُ الطَّيِّبَةُ صَدَقَةٌ. To speak a good word is sadaqah. Now, a good word, it has got a very vast meaning. Here in the context, it applies to speak a kind word to somebody. Every thing you speak on matters of deen, you read your shahada, you make dhikr, all of these are all tayyib words, it's good words. But in the context, you speak to somebody and you're like, you're looking, for example, you're saying you're looking fresh today, you're looking young. Sometimes some people are like that. They want to hear that they look young or this or that. Things, something minuscule, unimportant like that people think, yeah, what you making a big deal out of it. But something small like that, even that is a sadaqah. وبكل خطوة تمشيها إلى الصلاة صدقة. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam goes further and says that for every step you take towards the masjid for salah, that is a sadaqah. So there are a number of ahadith which speak specifically about steps, as in with your feet. So the further away you walk, the more steps you take, the more your reward is. But in today's time, you can also apply to your car. So for every kilometer or however you want to work it out, miles, kilometers, centimeters, whatever the case may be, every revolution of your tire, whatever you want to call it, every one of these things, Allah will give you reward for all of this too. وَتُمِيطُ الْأَذَى عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ صَدَقَةً. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam completes the hadith by saying, to remove a harmful thing from the road, that too is sadaqah. Muttafaqun alayh. This hadith is agreed upon both by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah. Both of them reported. Now what this hadith shows is that we are required to do sadaqah every day. Now if you have money, Alhamdulillah. And if you don't have money, no matter how poor you are, you can be the poorest of the poor person, poorest of the poor people at least, and you can do the majority. In fact, you can do probably more than the some of the rich people of these things in a day. So this is how you can get reward of sadaqah in your book of good deeds, and you find a mountain on the day of Qiyamah of sadaqah, and you're like, but I was a poor man in this world, I never had money to give in sadaqah. And it will be said, no, that smiling that you were smiling at everybody all day, all of this is its sadaqah. And that you were speaking good words to people, all of this is its reward, and so on and so forth. Things that you go through your life, you say it's part of just your nature, that's just your character, that's who you are. But even that, if you shift your mind correctly and you realize that these are things that are beloved in the Sharia to give happiness over to the next person, to not look like a wet blanket and things of the sort, then your normal character that was part of you becomes an extra means of reward for you on a daily basis. Let's move on. The hadith continues. It says, ورواه مسلم أيضا من رواية عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. In the narration of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, which is reported from Hadith Aisha رضي الله عنها, she said that Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, and the hadith is the same, with but the difference, but on the same topic. Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم said, إنه خلق كل إنسان من بني آدم على 60 و300 مفصل. فمن كبر الله وحمد الله وهلل الله وسبح الله واستغفر الله وعزل حجرا عن الطريق الناس. Okay, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah has created every person, human being, having 360 joints. I mentioned this last week when we started the chapter. The hadith had not mentioned the amount. It just mentioned that for every joint there is sadaqah. I mentioned that there are 360 joints. Here you see from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everybody has got 360 joints. Now, like I said, you may find, okay, but this person is an amputee, so he's got minus 2 legs, or an arm and a leg is missing, or this and this and this. We don't look at things like that. This is speaking from a default ruling that the person who's got all of their joints has got 360 joints, and regardless of what kuffar or whatever other people may come out and claim, we say that there are 360 joints because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there are 360 joints. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says every person has been created having 360 joints. Faman kabbar Allah. So if you make takbir, kabbar Allah, you declare the greatness of Allah, which is to say Allahu Akbar. Wa hamid Allah, and you say Alhamdulillah. Wa halal Allah, you say La ilaha illallah. Wa sabbah Allah, and you say Subhanallah. Wa astaghfar Allah, and you seek the forgiveness of Allah by saying Astaghfirullah. Wa azala hajaran ani tariqin nas. عن طريق الناس, and you remove a stone from the path of people, أو شوكة أو عظما عن طريق الناس, or you remove a thorn or a bone from the path where people walk, أو أمر بمعروف, or you command people with goodness, أو نهى عن منكر, or you prohibit people from some evil, عدد 60 و300 فإنه يمسي يومئذ وقد زحزح نفسه عن النار. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if you do this amongst all of these things and all of these other previous ahadith that we have done before, the amount of 360 times a day, then in other words, you've got 360 joints. If you do with your 360 sadaqah for the day by doing these various things, what happens? فإنه يمسي يومئذ وقد زحزح نفسه عن النار. You go to you end your day in that manner, and you have saved yourself from Jahannam. In other words, if you give sadaqah for your 360 joints a day, it is a means of protection and safety for you from the fire of Jahannam. So, like I mentioned, we've mentioned a number of different things from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this regard. All of us are capable of doing it. We may not everybody may be able to remove harmful things from the road, because you don't interact. Maybe you're living somewhere on a farm or whatever the case may be, but you can still speak a good word. You can still, if you're not even interacting with people, you can still do your dhikr and stuff like this on your own. And then too, you can finish your day having done 360 sadaqat, a sadaqah for every joint, and thus you end your day on a good note, having saved yourself from the fire of Jahannam. Okay, that was the end of that hadith. Let's move on to the seventh hadith. Hadith number 123 of the kitab. السابع عنه رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من غدا إلى المسجد أو راح أعد الله له في الجنة نزلا كلما غدا أو راح. متفق عليه. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu once again reports from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam who said that man غدا إلى المسجد أو راح, he who goes to the masjid in the morning or the evening, أعد الله له في الجنة نزلا, Allah prepares for him in Jannah a like, what is a nuzul? A nuzul is like, when you have a guest coming, you've got think of it this way: you're having a guest come around for to meet you on the weekend. You have a place set out, the food is going to be here, this is where you must sit and everything. So a welcoming station, so to speak. That is the closest which we can get to for nuzula in matters of the year after. So in Jannah, Allah puts out like this for you every morning and every evening. When you go to the masjid, Allah prepares this welcoming station for you, day in and day out. كلما غدا أو راح. If you go only in the morning, then it is there. If you go only even in the evening, then it's there. If you go in the morning and the evening, then it is there. It is showing that Allah is keeping what does it mean? When somebody say, I got the open door, whenever you want to, you are always welcome. People don't mean you can literally turn up at any time. They'll still mean within reason. But in the court of Allah, if you have a welcoming station waiting for you, it's just a matter. If you die in the state, there's your station. It's already like you've got like the welcoming party is already waiting. When are you going to come in? That's how close you are already to Jannah. For a deed which you deem to be small, you just go into the masjid for salah, and in that manner, Allah still rewards you like this. One more hadith number 124. الثامن عنه رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا نساء المسلمات لا تحقرن جارة لجارتها ولو فرسنا شاة. متفق عليه. The eighth hadith is reported also from Hadrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, who said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam addressed this primarily at the women. It applies to men and everyone too, but primarily when a hadith is directed at a particular group, it shows that this is something that tends to be common within that group. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, women of the Muslims, لا تحقرن جارة لجارتها. No woman should look down upon a gift which comes from her neighbor. ولو فرسنا شاة, even if it is like a sheep's trot. Testing 1 2. Can anybody confirm that the sound is working? It said it just got silenced and muted somehow. Okay. Hopefully the kitab is visible now as well too. Any case, so carrying on from where we were, the like I said, some people they like sheep trotters. Other people are like, there's no meat on it. It's literally like skin on a bone. That's what is on a sheep trotter. So for some people, they look down upon it like, I'm from a big, well-known family, rich people over here. What you doing giving me this useless trotter? So it's not to do with the trotter per se. Rather, it is Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, don't look down upon the gift of the next person. The next person, for example, they come and they give you, maybe you are, like a top baker, so you make like the best of everything, all you can bake like till the you can win medals and awards for the way you bake. And the next person come and they buy that cheap Malaysian biscuits, that costs 199, those glucose type biscuits, and it's all they can afford, but they want to also say thank you and stuff, and they give you something like this here. No, they're not trying to look down upon you. It's just that it's what they eat. Some people, they eat these type of things. They don't think, like, oh, why wouldn't you eat it? So, they eat these sort of things. So they're giving it to you, or maybe you happen to be in the same company there, and they're like, come sit down, have something to eat. And we're not exactly talking about somebody in a shack over here, but you come, even if it was a person in the shack, it wouldn't make a difference. But the point being that sometimes a person come and invite you, and then you like, I don't eat this sort of things, and you pull your nose up. That's not the way of a Muslim. But here it extends a bit further, because the neighbor, and it doesn't only mean a neighbor, primarily a neighbor the hadith is referring to, but it also applies to everyone in general. But you understand this a lot because it happens so common. A neighbor or somebody will come and give a gift, some food, and then you let the madam of the house will look at it like this. What is this? Like this cheap line. If we eat this type of food, give it to the maid over there, and that sort of thing. That is one of the things that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is speaking against. When a person do things of this nature, don't look down upon the gift of a Muslim. Specifically your neighbor here as well. The reason for a neighbor is mentioned is because as Muslims, neighbors are very close to one another. That's why the Sahaba radiallahu anhum said that so much has been mentioned with regards to the neighbor that they were like afraid a neighbor would even be inheriting from you. That's how much emphasis the Sharia has put on good treatment to neighbors. So, a neighbor being a normal, good, neighborly person, they come and they also send you a little bit of something. And it's good to have a good relationship with your neighbor. They send you something, you send them something, not for the sake of tat for tat. They gave me something, so I've got to give them something. But you, as actual good neighbors to one another, people should be doing these sort of things. It used to be common in the old days. Unfortunately, in today's time, it's not all that common, and there's a lot of factors that have changed things today, because now a man will be buying from Spa his meat and his chickens from Woolworths and stuff like this here. Now he makes something and he sends it off to you. Now I do these chickens and things from Woolworths, and that even if it's got some certificate on there, this is not halal things, so you can't eat it like in the old days. If they were all 100% halal, it wouldn't have been an issue. So what I mentioned earlier, give this to the maid. If it happens to come like this here, then it doesn't mean, okay, my neighbor gave it, so I must eat it. No, if the neighbor sends you wine, gums, and things of the sort with gelatin in, you cannot eat it. In fact, you cannot give it to your maid, you cannot give it even to your animals if something is haram. But anyway, so the point being that what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is speaking about is that don't look down upon the gifts and the actions that other people do. If somebody can give you a cup of sugar, or a half a cup, or a teaspoon of sugar, or some little small thing like this here, accept it with gratitude, and that will be a reward for them. And by you accepting it, it is a reward for you too. So, don't look down upon things that you deem to be minuscule, because in the court of Allah, nothing is really minuscule. Let's do one last hadith and we end on this point. The ninth hadith, hadith number 125 of the Kitab التاسع عنه رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الإيمان بضع وسبعون أو بضع وستون شعبة فأفضلها قول لا إله إلا الله وأدناها إماطة الأذى عن الطريق والحياء شعبة من الإيمان متفق عليه. Very famous hadith. Hazrat Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه reports that Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم said that Iman is made up of 70 something or 60 something branches. أفضلها, the greatest of all of the branches is saying La ilaha illallah. So the top branch right on top is saying La ilaha illallah together with whatever comes along with it. So if there is no La ilaha illallah in your life because you're not a Muslim, then nothing else count for anything. Then, وَأَدْنَاهَا إِمَاطَةُ الْأَذَى عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ, and the lowest one is removing a harmful thing from the road. So if you have no La ilaha illallah and you remove a harmful thing from the road, Allah will reward you in this world. But obviously, because you have no La ilaha illallah, you have nothing waiting for you in the year after. So therefore, the greatest, the most important, the paramount of everything is having belief. Not just saying La ilaha illallah, but having the belief in La ilaha illallah in your heart too. So if you are not Muslim, none of the other branches will apply to you. But if you are Muslim, saying La ilaha illallah itself, the words itself, is one of the greatest branches of Iman, because you renew your Iman by repeating La ilaha illallah as well. So we're not even getting into that part of the reward of the dhikrullah and how it removes the rust, rust is removed from metal, the sins and the black spots from your heart is removed with dhikr of La ilaha illallah. So the greatest one is La ilaha illallah, the lowest one is removing a harmful. And when we say low, it don't mean it's unimportant, not at all. If somebody says, think of what is let's put it in a context of food, your favorite foods. So you have a plate full of all your favorite foods. There will be, out of those favorites, your favorite of the favorites and your least favorite of the favorites. So that is your least favorite, but it's still one of your favorites. It's not like, it's the lowest one, I'll get rid of it. Not at all. So in a like manner, the lowest one is removing a harmful thing from the road. And that lowest one is a great and massive thing in its own right. Like we've seen now numerous ahadith on the topic. So therefore, the lowest of these great branches of Iman is to remove a harmful thing from the road. And haya, modesty, shame, that itself is a branch. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't tell us where exactly that branch fits in. Is it from the highest? Is it from the lower ones? But like I say, low is relative. Yeah, the lowest of the low is there above the skies, so high it is. So with haya, it is already being a branch, so we know it is even above removing a harmful thing from the road. So we can speak whole night on the topic of haya itself. Where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and it's also reported from the previous Anbiya, that if you have no shame, فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ, then do what you want to, because you don't have any shame anyway. When shame leaves you altogether, doesn't mean you can do what you want to. It means, if you have no shame, then you're not going to even bother holding back for anything. Any case, so we know that modesty and shame is part of Iman. It's part of your Iman. And unfortunately, in this modern world that we live, haya is something that by the day is being removed further and further from the hearts and the lives of people. And people look down upon haya as if haya is something which is bad, something which is backwards. Why is people being like this here? Whereas for the Sharia, in the Sharia, the more haya you have, the better. There's no such a thing as bad haya, but or at least I should say, there is a thing as bad haya in the sense when it is from shaitan. So you I feel shy to go to the masjid to perform salah because people are going to look at me. That is bad shyness, because it's not actually shyness. It is the tricks of Iblis. So, let's not confuse that matter, because I have mentioned that example a couple of times in the past. But anyway, so as far as proper haya is concerned, there's no such thing as bad modesty. The more modest a woman and a man as well. It's not only applicable to women, it's applicable as much to men as it is to women. So the more you can conceal yourself, the more. Now you have a woman and she's loud and brash and or things like this. Yeah, that's not how a woman is supposed to be. In fact, a man is not even supposed to be let's put it this way. A man says, it's a man's arms are not part of his aura. So if I walk around with a vest on, what's the problem? It's not befitting for a Muslim man. It's against muru'ah, and it's also against haya for him to go around in this manner. So with everything in life, the more haya you can have, the better standing you are on from a Shari'i perspective. That hadith is muttafaqun alayh. It's reported both by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah. We'll stop on this point here for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. Next week we can continue onwards from hadith number 10, which is hadith number 126 of the kitab so far. So with that being said, we then end on this point here. Until next time, we end and we say, وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ وَسَلَّمَ وَبَارَكَ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ سُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ سُبْحَانَكَ اللَّهُمَّ وَبِحَمْدِكَ نَشْهَدُ أَن لَّا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ نَسْتَغْفِرُكَ وَنَتُوبُ إِلَيْكَ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ.